This week's whistle is the Generation E flat. This is the nickel-plated barrel with the blue top. I generally always prefer the nickel-plated barrel. Other people have the opposite opinion. Some people don't believe it affects the tone, and then there are lots of others like myself who firmly believe they hear the difference. As for this whistle, I think the strong pros are that it has a nice bright tone. E flat tuning doesn't really change much playing on your own, but in some ensemble or recording applications it can be very useful. A lot of singers like to sing with guitars tuned down from E standard to E flat because they feel it suits their vocal range better. There are also a number of instrumentations of other types of music that are written in E flat or B flat, usually to accommodate saxophones and clarinets and other instruments that work particularly well in a B flat or E flat tuning. This whistle has had the blue tack tweak, which you probably can't even see because the mouthpiece is blue, so it blends right in. I've played this whistle more than most of my other generations. I enjoy it a lot. I think the bright tone and the ease of it is great. It probably cost me $12. I don't know. I mean, getting a generation in the US is not a ridiculously difficult affair or particularly expensive. It's also generally easy to play. Leading into the cons, however, they're kind of the cons that all of the modern generation whistles may have. The production is fairly inconsistent. The injection molded headpieces aren't always perfect. And of course, that cavity under the windway needs to be filled immediately. They do tend to come a little sharp from the factory. And because of those production inconsistencies, they can be a bit hissy or a bit shrieky. The good news is that they aren't all like that. And you might go through 4 generation whistles before you find a really bad one. You might also buy 3 of them and only get one that's really great on the 3rd try. So it really depends, and it's a good thing that it's not an expensive whistle. Is it a good beginner whistle? I think so. Generally, I wouldn't say that Generation is the best beginner whistle. It's certainly not the worst. But if you're going to start with a Generation, you'd be lucky to get one of the better ones. They're not particularly hard to play. They're not expensive. They tend to have a fairly decent middle-of-the-road cheap whistle tone. Again, the good ones are good and the bad ones are terrible, and that's just how it goes. But as I said, some of my favorite whistles have been Generations. I have this and a nickel-plated B flat. I love them both. I also have a nickel C that is really good. You have to be warned that you're rolling the dice with the Generation whistle. You get a good one, it's fantastic. The whistle this week was the Generation E flat. Look forward to seeing you next week when we try something completely different.